The office tower loomed over the busy streets of the city, and inside the glass walls the CEO sat at his desk, staring at the computer screen, thinking about the endless meetings and the numbers that never seemed to add up. He had always believed that success was measured by profits and power, but today there was a heaviness in his chest that he could not explain. He glanced at the clock and noticed it was nearly 5 in the afternoon, a time when most employees were packing up for the weekend. He rubbed his eyes and sighed, wondering if all the work he had done for years was really worth it. Then the receptionist walked in, holding an envelope that was addressed to him in a careful childish handwriting. The envelope was slightly crumpled, and the paper looked like it had been folded many times. She hesitated for a moment before placing it on his desk and said that it had come through the mail, but no return address was visible. The CEO picked it up, feeling the texture of the paper and the faint scent of crayon and colored pencils. It was strange to receive something so personal and handwritten in a world dominated by emails and digital messages. He opened the envelope slowly and pulled out a small folded sheet with uneven lines and drawings that made him smile despite the stress. The letter began with a simple greeting, and the words seemed innocent yet urgent, as if the little girl knew that someone needed to hear her message. He read the lines carefully and noticed the spelling mistakes, the crossed-out words, and the heartfelt tone that seemed impossible for someone so young to carry so much awareness. The little girl wrote about her father, who worked long hours, and her mother, who was always tired. She wrote about her school and her dreams, but most of all she wrote about the sadness she saw in people around her and how she wished someone could make the world kinder and happier. The CEO felt a strange pull in his chest, a mixture of nostalgia and guilt, as he thought about his own childhood and the moments he had missed because he had been too busy chasing success. He read on, and the words became more personal and direct, asking the reader to help people who were lonely and to listen to those who felt unheard. The drawings at the bottom of the page were of smiling faces holding hands and a sun that shone brightly over a city skyline. The simplicity of it all contrasted with the complexity of his life, and he found himself staring at the paper, unable to look away for a long time. He had not expected a letter from a stranger to affect him so deeply, but the authenticity of the little girl touched something buried beneath the layers of ambition and responsibility. He felt tears prickling at the corners of his eyes as he realized that in all his years of working, he had never thought about making the world a little better for those who could not fight for themselves. The next morning, the CEO could not stop thinking about the letter, and he found himself walking around the office in a daze. He called his assistant into his office and asked her to help him find ways to respond to the message. He did not know the girl. He did not know her family, and yet something about her words had stirred a feeling he could not name. He wanted to do more than just keep the letter in a drawer. He wanted to act. He asked the assistant to reach out to local charities and schools to see if they could find a family that might have sent such a letter. He wanted to understand the struggles the little girl had mentioned, and he wanted to offer help without making it about him. He spent hours reading the letter again and again, memorizing each sentence like it held a secret code to happiness. He realized that the letter was not just a message, it was a challenge, and he had to rise to it. He remembered his own daughter, who had grown up in the shadow of board meetings and business trips, and he thought about the moments he had missed, the birthday parties and school plays, and how fleeting time really was. He began making plans to organize an event, to connect children with mentors, and to create opportunities for families who were struggling to spend time together, without worrying about money or work. The CEO scheduled meetings with nonprofit organizations and even used company resources to launch a small pilot program. He wanted to make sure that the effort was genuine and that the impact would be lasting. Not everyone in the office understood why he was so passionate about a single letter from an unknown child. Some colleagues laughed and thought it was a distraction from the quarterly reports and financial targets, but the CEO ignored them. he felt, a moral responsibility that outweighed business objectives, and he was determined to follow through. The assistant noticed a change in him, a softness in his demeanor, and a renewed energy that had been absent for years. He began to engage with employees, differently listening to their stories and encouraging them to participate in the new initiative. He held meetings not just to discuss profits, but to brainstorm ways to improve the lives of children in the community. He even invited children from local schools to visit the office and share their ideas for a better world. The CEO spent hours drafting letters to accompany gifts and support for families in need, inspired by the sincerity of the little girl's writing. He found that each small action created a ripple effect, bringing smiles and hope to people who had been overlooked and forgotten. He realized that the letter had awakened something in him, a reminder that success was not measured by numbers alone, but by the positive impact one could have on the lives of others. The words of the little girl echoed in his mind and heart, and he felt a connection to her that transcended age and circumstance. Weeks passed, and the pilot program grew beyond expectations. The CEO received letters from children and parents thanking him for listening and for creating opportunities that had never existed before. The office became a place of collaboration and kindness, and the atmosphere shifted as employees noticed the genuine care their leader showed. The little girl's letter had sparked a movement that no one could have predicted. The CEO organized a special event at the company headquarters, inviting children and families to celebrate the launch of a new initiative focused on education and community support. He remembered the moment he first read the letter and how it had moved him to tears, and he shared the story with the audience, telling them that change could start with a single voice and a single act of courage. The children laughed and played and shared their artwork and ideas, and the CEO felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He walked through the event observing the joy and excitement around him, and he realized that the impact of one letter could extend far beyond what anyone imagined. The little girl who had written to him was never revealed, but her influence was everywhere, in the smiles of children and in the gratitude of parents and teachers. The CEO continued to read every letter that came in, and he encouraged his team to do the same. He knew that the world was full of challenges, but he also knew that kindness and attention to the small voices could make a profound difference. The story of the letter spread throughout the media, capturing hearts and inspiring other leaders to take action. It was not about publicity. It was about creating a culture of care and responsiveness inspired by the innocent honesty of a child. The CEO reflected on his journey from a man focused solely on success to a person who understood that real achievement lay in the ability to touch lives and make them better. He often thought of the little girl and wondered if she knew the power her words had carried. He smiled at the thought that a simple letter written with pure intention could change the course of a life and the direction of a company, and perhaps even inspire countless others to do the same. He kept the original letter in a frame on his desk as a reminder that even in a busy world, the voice of a child could speak volumes and remind everyone that empathy, courage,